The true test of truly anyone's character is what they do when they don't think you're watching. Now, right now, in the mainstream media, there are a lot of things being put in front of your eyeballs that a lot of people believe they discovered naturally on their own. And there are a lot of things that you would very much be interested in hearing that are being kept from you that would perhaps change your mind about what the reality is. In today's video, we're going to cover this. It's a story that's been in the media about last week. We did a week or two, I guess. We did a video about it a couple days ago, and we're going to revisit it because I think it's important because it shows something with the concept of psychological operations. We talk about that a lot over at the Florida Maquis Patreon channel. $1 per month, even less if you sign up for an entire year, fully refundable first 90 days, no questions asked. Partnering with Vimeo, we can make different kinds of videos over there. Now, this is kind of key, and this really dovetails with the topic today, because there are those of us who've been here on YouTube, folks like myself and Southern Prepper One and Patriot Nurse, and the folks over at Restricted Republic, Lisa Haven, Justice Knight, Lindley Oz, that have over the last few years really have had to fight. I mean, just to struggle, just to stay alive, just to stay in the game and not be taken out of it completely. Now, there are also those out there who would like you to believe they're part of that struggle when they're not. When they've been doing wonderful, but they want you to believe something else is true. So if you can join us at Patreon, would sure appreciate it. Any of those names I'd mentioned, they would all for sure appreciate it because that's the reality of it. Now, Florida. Florida is known as the Gunshine State for a reason. A lot of people thought, Florida Maquis, you live there because of girls in bikinis. Not going to lie, saying that's really kind of a great benefit, but it's not the primary reason I live here. I live here because it's primarily populated, my friends and neighbors are good, decent, wholesome Christian people that I can count on. And I know who they are when people aren't looking, when nobody's paying attention. You see, it's literally, you could rename this place, if you were going to call it Florida, F around and find out land. And that's just the case. It doesn't matter what color you are, it doesn't matter what race you are. Florida is just that way. You go mucking around and you go effing around, you're going to find out. That's the reality. And I know a lot of other states, Louisiana, Texas, Tennessee, are like this, but primarily that's the reason I'm here. Now, this story about try that in a small town was a giant game. It was a giant money-making scheme. This whole idea about the left being outraged and then the right responding with uncanceling and all this kind of stuff. This was all a scheme, all a ploy to get your money. And I showed this in another video. I only talked about it in a couple of different terms, that here's this Mr. Wholesome, family value, small town guy with his cheerleader mistress wife, while he's got another wife who's his business manager, ex-wife, who has his first two kids, two earring wearing guy. It was one of the reasons I left Nashville. I was a singer-songwriter because it was getting populated by this group of people that were just sick and twisted and manipulative. And I know a lot of you are like, wait a minute, Jason Aldean's not that guy. Didn't you hear the song? Didn't write the song, but you sure recorded it. And you recorded it for a reason. You see, this right here is an act. And I have proof now. I'm going to show you something that's going to blow your mind. The jeans with the rips in them, the chain on the wallet, the leather, the wrist, the hat. This is all an act. This is not who this guy is. You want to see who this guy is? This is who this guy is. Men in my audience, how many lavender plaid suit coats do you own? Do you have any lavender and white checkered shirts? Or cream-colored pants? How many of you out there have two earrings? And don't say he was dressing it to match his wife because she's just wearing a neutral color. If anything, she bought her hat to match the suit. Now, why am I talking about this? Jason Aldean's controversial video reportedly has now been edited to remove all of the BLM references. Well, some might say, Florida Maquis, wouldn't that leave virtually nothing? Well, guess what? You know how much time it took out? 6 seconds. That's right. All that protest footage that you saw, only 6 seconds of it was from BLM from 2020. The music video for the country singer Jason Aldean's controversial single, Try That in a Small Town, which became a political lightning rod for its threats towards police protesters, has been quietly edited to remove images of BLM demonstrations. The popular video, which had over 19 million views at the time of writing, up from 350,000 when CMT removed it from its channel last week, is now only 6 seconds shorter than when it was originally posted on YouTube on 14 July. The video still features footage of protesters squaring off against armed police, not here in the U.S., and has nothing to do with what happened in 2020, but no longer contains footage from Fox 5 Atlanta. Portions of the clip appeared twice, blah, 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 the lyrics, widespread criticism, all this kind of stuff, and now they've pulled it. Now, here's the part you need to pay attention to, the first part. Write this part down if you have to. Billboard reported that it was the best-selling country song to debut on Billboard's charts in more than a decade. In the week after the video's release, the country rock song was played to a radio airplay of 7.3 million, sold 228,000 units, and was streamed over 11 million times, a 999% increase. Poor Jason Aldean. However will he survive? However will he be able to afford his brand new mansion in St. George Island, Florida? Now that's, for those of you who aren't aware, over on the the trigger part, the panhandle of Florida. You think, well, that's kind of a conservative area, normal hardworking folks. Yeah, no. Here, let's do a quick walkthrough of his new down-home country place that he just bought down here in Florida. This is from his wife. Oh, pardon me. Now married to Mistress Cheerleader woman's Instagram. It's palatial. It is a palatial beachfront mansion. So now that he can say he lives in Florida, and it is decorated absolutely perfectly with some of the most, what looks like some of the most expensive stuff I've ever seen. And remember, this guy's got 2 kids from previous. Now, we'll just leave that there. It's just absolutely, it's ridiculous what's going on. Oh, and by the way, let's go back here. Hold on one second. We're going to get to that in a minute. You see, something was very strange about all this whole situation. But when you get down to, where is that article? Hold on. I'm going to find it. Here it is. It's from News Press. You see, they made a blurb, a mention about something in here about his PR company dropping him. And I thought, well, that was really strange. Of course, here's the Instagram making him look like he's a real country guy. Defending this, blah, 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 blah. What has he said in Backlash? Las Vegas event. Okay, here we go. He has addressed concerns regarding, let me zoom this in. See if you guys can read it here for yourself. He has addressed concerns regarding wearing a certain type of face for a 2015 Halloween costume. His recent controversies have ranged from visiting former President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago golf course and resort in Florida in 2020 to his wife's remarks in social media posts in 2022 considered to be transphobic. That led to Aldean's publicity firm. Pay attention here. This is the part you need to see. Aldean's publicity firm of 17 years, Green Room, stopped working with him because of something his wife said. Now let's back up for a minute. So for 17 years, he had a perfectly good relationship with Green Room. his PR company. This is Green Room's website. Now remember, it was only in 2022 that they decided they couldn't handle him anymore. But prior to that, his whole career basically. Green Room. Of course, hold on. Here we go. Digital PR and digital marketing, Miami Beach Pride. Defying DeSantis, Miami Beach Pride's 15th anniversary amidst anti-LGBTQ pushback. This is what they lead with at Green Room. Okay, so remember something. Yes, they dropped him, but for 17 years, they had a perfectly good relationship. What does that tell you about who Jason Aldean really is when you're not looking? See, nobody would have cared who Jason Aldean's PR firm was prior to all of this. See, who was he when it didn't become chic to get on the anti-Disney bandwagon, get on the anti-LGBTQ bandwagon? Who was he then? I guarantee he would have sung a whole different story about his support for the LGBTQ. This is the Bud Light thing. This is exactly what Bud Light's about. This is why they were so upset. It's like all these people, they're all, prior to 2020, 2021, all this trans stuff, all the Dylan Mulvaney, they were all in on, oh, yes, we want everybody. That Garth Brooks is, at least he's revealing who he really is. And that's who these guys always were. That's who these guys, they don't care about social issues. They care about the money. Now, who remembers Nikki Fried, the Democrat agriculture commissioner, prior agriculture commissioner here in Florida? A lot of people are like, oh, boo, she's a Democrat. Oh, she's part of the enemy establishment. Okay, she wasn't even allowed to run against Governor DeSantis. She got kicked out by Christ, a former Republican endorsed by Trump, now a Democrat. Guess what? Nikki Fried to appeal dismissal of medical marijuana lawsuit. I want to read you a quote from Nikki Fried, this person who's a Democrat that you think is your enemy. Our appeal today is an important step in the fight to make sure no patient has to choose between their rights and their medicine, said Fried. I will never stop being an advocate for full cannabis legalization. Full legalization will resolve many of the issues caused by irrational, inconsistent, and incoherent federal cannabis policies. Medical cannabis patients have the same Second Amendment rights as every American. Federal law cannot deem it illegal for a medical cannabis cardholder to purchase a firearm. Let me say it again. This is Nikki Fried, Democrat, that I'm quoting here. Federal law cannot deem it illegal for a medical cannabis cardholder to purchase a firearm. Also, this is from way back in 2019. Remember when nobody was looking? Remember what I said about who are you when nobody's looking? Here's Matt Gaetz and Nikki Fried. Now, I'm not going to get into this story about their relationship, but when everything went down with the Capitol January 6th event, the first person she texted to see if he was okay, Nikki Fried texted Matt Gaetz. They've had to, on social media, distance themselves from one another, but on this issue, gun rights and medical marijuana, they are thick as thieves. And there have been other reports that they might, have a normal man-woman relationship as well, which is fine, not judging. But this is the theme of today's video. You see, you wouldn't think this based on what is already put in front of your eyeballs. Nikki Fried, Democrat? How could she say or do anything I would agree with? She's also Jewish. So is the Patriot Nurse. So here you have two females, one from Tennessee, one from Florida, both very much for gun rights, very much for Second Amendment rights, both Jewish, but on different sides of the aisle. These are the kind of things I think people would want to know about. that they'd be interested in hearing. Nikki Fried forced to answer for Matt Gaetz' association again. You see, this is the thing, that they can't come out and be public about it because of politics. They agree on certain things and they disagree on others. But that there was a Democrat in Florida fighting for your gun rights, if I would have led with that, people are like, oh, I'm tuning out. I'm going to another video. This makes no sense. But this goes back to our original topic. The true test of anyone's character is what they're doing when nobody's watching. And don't tell me anybody is watching what Nikki Fried is doing right now. They stopped listening to her when Charlie Crist got nominated to run against DeSantis. But she's still fighting and taking on the federal government for their overreach into your Second Amendment rights. A Democrat in Florida. Meanwhile, Mr. Lavender Suit, Mr. Mansion in Apalachicola, just played you like a fiddle. Pardon the country music reference, but you just got played. He made millions and millions off of poor little Jason Aldean getting canceled by the big old mean leftist. He is a leftist. He put on country face. He went out and grabbed a song that he knew would outrage a bunch of people. A bunch of people get outraged, and then in return, the anti-outrage crowd comes to his defense and buys up a bunch of tickets and buys up a bunch of downloads and makes him a giant freaking pile of cash. And now he can afford a giant mansion in St. George Island, Florida. I think that pretty much says it all, don't it? We'll get that off screen there. That's character. That'll tell you everything you need to know about what happened. So I'll leave it there. God bless. Have a wonderful evening. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.